Welcome to A Styled Life, the podcast for purpose-led female founders and senior leaders ready to use style as a powerful tool for confidence, impact, and influence. I'm your host, Alex Standley, multi-award-winning personal stylist, speaker, and sustainable fashion consultant with 2 decades of experience in the fast-paced world of fashion. Join me as we redefine success from the inside out. This podcast isn't just about clothes. It's about personal power, purposeful style, and creating a life that aligns with your values. So whether you're running a business, leading a movement, or stepping into your next chapter, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into the world of personal style, sustainability, female empowerment, and living with intention through real stories, expert insights, and plenty of inspiration. Welcome back to A Styled Life. This week is an extra personal, special episode to me because this is something that I've wanted to bring out to the world for a long time, and I haven't felt quite sure how it would be received. But I am not like every other stylist that you have come across. You might have realized that a little bit already, but I have a really unique way of working that creates a really lasting transformation from the inside out. And I haven't fully been owning that until now. For years, I've been showing the part of my work that felt, I guess, safe to share. My buyer background, the color analysis, the wardrobe transformation, the outfit formulas, the sustainability, and more recently, like the identity work as well. And all of it is so valuable, but it's not the whole picture. The whole picture includes something that I have been holding back on out of fear of what people might think, how it would be received, whether it would land in the wrong way or make me harder to take seriously, maybe. Here is what I was keeping quiet. I work with lots of different modalities: human design, astrology, numerology, character strengths, values, not as add-ons, not as a kind of side interest, as a really key methodology. And it's the thing that makes everything else when it comes to style rooted in who you actually are rather than generic. And I have used this work on myself, and I know what it showed me about who I actually am, not who I had been performing as. And I've seen how powerful the results are when I bring it into the room with a client as well. But I was making myself small to manage other people's perceptions, and I'm no longer available for that. So this episode is me saying the full thing out loud for the first time properly. So most people obviously think that what I do is styling. And yes, there are wardrobes and color sessions and shopping edits and outfit formulas. And all of that really matters. And it's still super important in the work that I do. But the thing that I've learned after years of doing this work is that my clients can do absolutely everything right. They can do the coaching, the therapy, the practical styling, like the color analysis, or the wardrobe edit, and that can shift something, but only, the things like the coaching and the therapy and things like that, they only shift things on the inside. And then those clients still walk into a room and get experienced as a slightly smaller version of who they actually are. Because what nobody seems to really name is that every solution that has worked in isolation and missed the whole picture. So the coaching didn't touch the physical layer and the styling didn't go deep enough on identity first. So nobody has held the full picture altogether. And that fusion, if you like, between that inner knowing and then the outer expression is what is consistently missing. And that's the gap that I've really seen that has never been solved until now. So identity work on its own stays in the body and the mind. And styling on its own starts with the wardrobe and never goes beneath it. Whereas my work does both in the right order as one integrated process. So that inner picture lands in the physical world. And that is what makes the results last. So let me tell you what I actually do in the initial sessions now, and why I've been keeping the most important part of it quiet. So, as I mentioned, the tools that I'm using are human design, astrology, numerology, VIA, character strengths, and values. And they're how I build a really precise individual picture of who someone actually is before I've even looked at their wardrobe. And those tools don't just work because they're incredible modalities. They work because of who is holding them. So I have spent 20 years reading people. Before a client tells me anything about herself, I notice how she carries herself when she walks in, where she holds herself back, where she's performing, where she goes quiet, when she should be taking up space. I read presence the way other people read a room, and it's really instinctive, and I don't really have to think about it. So the modalities give me a framework and a language to mirror back to you, but my intuition gives me the read. And the questions that I ask about your past, your present, who you're becoming, they give me like the living picture that sits underneath both. So I'm thinking about things like, what are you wanting to reclaim from an earlier version of yourself? Perhaps things that you loved when you were a child, or what do you need to leave behind? What do you want people to feel when you walk into a room? What have you been holding back on because it didn't feel safe, or it didn't feel professional or appropriate for the version of you that you've built to succeed? And by the time I look at your wardrobe, I already know you, because it's not the curated version that you present to the world, it's the actual version of you. And that picture becomes the foundation for everything else that follows. So we then look at your colours that communicate your authority and that work really well with your individual personality and your individual colouring. And we look at the silhouettes that are going to create the right energy that you want when you're stepping into the room, and that first impression that you make before you say a single word. And we look at your style, personality, and what creates that unique sense of signature style. And I know that all of this identity work works because I've done it on myself. I obviously spent 15 years as a global fashion buyer. So that was like my dream career, and one that I had always wanted. I got to travel the world, I got to source products that you would see on the high street, and I was operating at a level that I had worked so hard to reach, but I was running on autopilot. I was really capable, I was really competent, I was really confident in what I was doing, but I was completely disconnected from who I actually was. And I'd built a version of myself that succeeded in that particular environment. But what I hadn't quite realized at the time was how far that version of me had drifted from who I actually was. And when my daughter was born, everything stopped. Like the confidence and purpose that had felt really clear had just completely disappeared. And at the same time, I really started to see my role in the industry quite differently. Everything like the overproduction, the waste, the misalignment with everything that I actually valued, I had once been really proud of, it just no longer felt like mine anymore. And the question that really kind of pulled me forward out of that identity crisis, if you like, was, what if I could be part of the solution? And as you probably know by now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, that was the moment that I retrained as a stylist. And at the same time, in kind of starting my own business, I also started that deeper kind of personal development work, reconnecting with who I actually was. And some of that was through my training as a stylist. So things like color, body shape, but it was also through doing the inner work. I've become a bit of a personal development junkie, and these 5 lenses that I use now with every client was what really helped me. It really helped me get to know myself again. It wasn't that any of it was like brand new information to me. It was just enabling me to kind of reconnect with parts of me that I had always known about myself, but maybe didn't have words for or had lost touch with. So I thought it might be interesting to give some examples of what I found that, really relate to the person that I am, my identity, my style. So, for example, in my astrology, my North Node is in Aries. So, your North Node is all about the direction that you're here to move towards. So, Aries is bold, it's direct, it's unapologetically present. And the pattern that it was asking me to leave behind, because my South Node is in Libra, was making others shine while staying invisible myself. And I had been doing that for years in corporate and in my business. And then my character strengths was another interesting one. So that put honesty first, which means that I just can't perform a version of myself that isn't true without paying a cost. And my appreciation of beauty and excellence was also at number 4. And that's why generic styling has always felt like a bit of a betrayal of something important to me. It's really who I am at a character level. And again, at human design as well, like there's so many parts of my human design that were just so interesting to me. I am definitely not here to sort of follow someone else's model or fit into someone else's framework. I have a really specific way of seeing things and doing things, and that's what my human design spoke to. One of the particular gates as part of my human design also speaks to success through the body, through physical embodiment. So I think the language is something like love of the body as a vehicle for the soul's expression. So that's all about the idea that identity has to be embodied. It's not just understood. It's literally written into my human design. So style as embodiment isn't just my methodology, it's literally who I am. And so this is why I feel so passionately about helping my clients with these modalities, because the woman who understands herself completely, but whose presence doesn't yet reflect that gap between who she is and how she's experienced is not usually just a wardrobe problem, it's an embodiment problem. And it turns out that closing that gap is literally what I am here to do. So doing this work myself and then translating it into how I dress, how I communicate, how I show up, it's just changed everything for me. And as I said, not because it told me something that I didn't know, because it gave me the language for who I am and the permission to kind of stop editing myself down. And that is what this work is. It's that precision, like looking at the specific elements of each modality that speak to your presence, to your purpose, to your communication and to your style. And that's what it makes it really different from any other identity or styling work that you might have come across. And this is what I'm doing now for the women that I'm working with. And it's why it creates such strong results. So I don't know if that has made any sense to you, because it's kind of just all come out of my head. But if you are a female founder or a senior leader who's ready to finally take up space and stop editing yourself down and own who you really are, I am the stylist for you. I am the expert with over 20 years of experience in fashion, in reading people, in earning trust and expanding people's potential. And I have never been more certain of the work that I am here to do. So if any of this has landed for you, or if you're just intrigued and you'd love to learn more about how this all works, because this is obviously just a small snapshot into the work that I do, I would love to chat to you. You can book a free style strategy call. I will link that in the show notes. I can just feel that this work is going to expand like more and more. And it's just going to be so, so powerful for women that are here to really trailblaze a legacy. And it's going to really help women to understand themselves better. Because I think so many women come to me and they are so disconnected to who they actually are, that when I ask them questions like, you know, how do you want to show up? Or like, what's the vision for your style? They don't have the answers. And that's the whole idea of bringing in this identity session at the beginning of the styling work, because it gives you those answers and it helps you to reconnect with yourself. So you're not having to find all of the answers yourself. We're working together to create that huge transformation, but it's not a transformation into somebody that you're having to perform to be. It's a transformation that's kind of peeling back the layers to who you actually are. And that's what creates the most confident transformations, because you're being completely 100% totally yourself. And there's something so magical and so powerful about that. So I would love to chat to you more about that if you have any questions. And I will also link the Styled for Impact guide in the show notes as well, because that's a really great starting point to this whole identity piece as well. It will help you to start thinking about those key questions to start asking yourself before doing any of this work. And I will see you next week with a special guest who will speak to us about this topic in a lot more depth as well. Thank you for tuning in to A Styled Life. If today's episode resonated, the best way to support the show is to share it with another trailblazer or leave a quick review. And if you're ready to align your style with your next level of impact, head to the show notes to book your free style strategy call, because when your style aligns with your purpose, the world takes notice.